This episode is brought to you by Abercrombie. Build your fits of the day with Abercrombie's newest denim drop. Here's where to start. Abercrombie's 90s straight jean goes with any shirt from tees to sweater polos. Super versatile. Their loose and baggy jeans are more trend forward, so you can grab those and go out with your friends. Abercrombie's denim fits come in a range of washes. Build your looks around Abercrombie denim. Shop online or in-store.
The Session is brought to you by More Beer, home of the all-new innovative Flash Brewing Kits. Go to morebeer.com today and check it out. Brew beer in 10 minutes or less. Everybody, welcome to The Session. I'm your host, Justin Crossley. As always, in my 20th year of doing this show, and I've got some good friends in the studio with me today. I've got Fieldwork Brewing Company in the studio with me today, and they've given me my first beer since sometime in December, I think maybe Christmas. So I'm excited about that. I'm really excited to be drinking beer again, but it's NA beer. And are you ready for this, everybody? And it tastes good.
Yeah.
It's taken me 20 years to find a non-alcoholic beer that I enjoy, and it's made by Fieldwork Brewing Company. So they're my guests today. We're going to be talking about all of that and more, and we haven't had you guys on the show in so long that we've got just so much to talk about. So I've got Matthew Barry and Alex Tweet here. Welcome, guys.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Stoked to have you here. It has to be at least 5 years since I've seen you, Alex.
It was the 21A collab.
Okay.
We were thinking about the day, so it's probably 5 years?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It was the before times for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe right about that same time, wasn't it? Yeah. Anyway, very cool to have you guys here. Real quick, thanks to our sponsor, More Beer, still bringing you this show after all these years. Go check them out at morebeer.com and check out their new Flash Brewing Kits. You can brew beer in 10 minutes. Yeah, that's right. You can brew beer in 10 minutes. They've got pre-boiled and whirlpooled malt extracts, hop bite shots for bitterness without needing to do a boil, a blend of T90 or cryo hops, depending on the recipe, so you get some real hop flavor in here. And the real secret ingredient for them is a specially formulated flash yeast, which starts quickly and produces clean beer that lets the malt and hops shine. So check out their Flash Brewing Kits. Go over to morebeer.com and thank them for supporting this show. A couple other ways that you can support are, of course, to listen to our other shows. Brew Strong is still out there, Dr. Homebrew, and a new one I just finished helped Mare Island do a series of podcasts, Battleships to Beer. And this is going to sound like a weird, like a non sequitur, but this bonus episode we just released is like for true crime fans. I know that has nothing to do with beer, but if you've ever seen the Netflix show American Nightmare, which is an insane story about a woman who was abducted off of Mare Island and accused of being a real-life Gone Girl. They thought she made up the whole story. She did not, spoiler alert. Anyhow, they happened to be regulars and fans of the Mare Island Brewing Company and were kind enough to come on our show. So we did a whole interview with the folks from American Nightmare to talk about life after an incredible tragedy. So check out our all of our content here on the Brewing Network and go check out the Battleships to Beer podcast, which you'll find on thebrewingnetwork.com. Another great way to support us, by the way, Spring Brews Festival is back for its 14th year. It's going to be Saturday, March 29th. Tickets are on sale now. You just go to thebrewingnetwork.com and click. You'll see a big picture there for them and get your tickets now. They're only $65. While the rest of the world is raising their prices, we are not. It's $65. There's not an early bird ticket. There's not a late bird ticket. It's just $65. We just simplified everything.
And we're going to be there.
And Fieldwork will be there.
We'll be there.
With 59 of your other friends. We should end up with a total of 60 breweries, which is where we like to land. So, yeah, Fieldwork will be there for sure. And I assume pouring some of the things we're talking about tonight.
Absolutely.
I am trying to like amp up the alternative beverage zone of the festival. So I'm going to be talking to Fieldwork about that. And we've got a Maui Brewing Company is bringing some stuff out for that too. Of course, they've got a line of seltzers and some NA beers, I think. So yeah, come out to Spring Brews Festival. Like I said, it's March 29th. Get your tickets now by going to thebrewingnetwork.com. All right. So we're just going to get right to it. I've been making fun of NA beer and dry January for as long as I can remember. And for one, dry January just always seemed like a weird thing to me because I just felt like, why do we all have to gang up on 1 month? Can't you guys spread it out a little bit and help the industry by not? But, there's no denying that the kind of sober, curious, and either low alcohol or no alcohol trend is not a fluke. And I've had breweries in here, friends of mine, maybe 5 years ago saying, you just wait and see. NA beer is the next big thing. And I was like, you guys are idiots. There's no way. People have been trying this NA beer thing for so long, and it's never taken hold. Well, as usual, I'm completely wrong. And it's taken a while, but it has taken hold. Would you guys say that the NA beer trend is not a fluke? Can we officially say that?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's got its rightful place along everything else.
Okay. What happened with you guys is, so I've tried even though I guess I wouldn't call myself a hater, but I've just been making fun of it for so long because I've always look, it doesn't taste like beer anyway. So if you're not going to drink, just don't drink. I never
why waste the calories. Why?
Yeah, I never understood it until one of my staff here handed me a Fieldwork non-alcoholic beer. I was probably making fun of him or something, not for drinking, but I just was like, again, like, what's with the calories, man? Just what? And he said, well, have you tried it? And I said, fine, I'll try it. It's not going to be good because they're never good. So good. And by good,
thank you.
I mean, for one, it tastes like a beer. And that already, right off the bat, is hard to do, in my opinion, because from my market research, I've never had one that tasted like a beer.
So I was going to ask you right off the bat when you had said it was good.
Yeah.
Is it good, but does it also taste like a beer to you? Because that's the
first level, right? Like It has to taste. And so I will go farther, though, as to say that not only have I never had one that tasted like a beer, I'd never had one that was good after that either. Like I've never really found like redeeming qualities about an NA beer. And it's not because I enjoy a buzz either. It's just, to me, it seemed like there's something about the process of fermenting beer that if you change that, you're never going to get a beer out of it. And your beer is the only one of all of them that has changed my mind. And I've tried the big guys. I've tried the ones who, you guys know the names of them out there. And I've been told, no. I've been told by people I trust, no, you got to try this one. It tastes like beer. It never does. It just never has, and it never does.
Is that not the weirdest thing, though, that people whose palates you trust, maybe you don't trust, that they love some of these? And you're sitting there, and again, I won't name any of them. I think there are some good. I have said to you guys already, though, like, I think Bud Zero's amazing.
Okay.
I think, Old Milwaukee. Of course, there's some good NA beers out there. A lot of the craft ones.
Right.
People will like be so excited and be like, here, try this. And it's like a bag of rusty buttholes. It is so gross. Who wants to drink that? And
exactly. And so for me, when I've been sober now for like a month or so. It's not a dry January thing. Like I said, I don't really believe in that. It's a dry Justin thing. You got to take some breaks. My whole thing was like, especially as I'm getting older, I never want to not be able to enjoy a beer.
Yeah.
And that's happened to friends of mine and some in my family. And I just felt like if I need to be able to take breaks. My doctor agrees.
I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same boat as you
now.
I took a break after all of December.
Yeah.
And still, I'm just, for me, I'm on the road a lot and visiting accounts. We're in the industry. We drink a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I really enjoy drinking whiskey at home.
Yeah.
But you get to a certain point where it's like, all right, I got to take a little bit of a break. And just like you, not like hard and fast, not a dry January thing. Just, I've had probably 3 or 4 beers over the last 2 months.
There you go. Yeah.
And, a couple glasses of wine. but I've been crushing the NAs because it's a really nice replacement. It doesn't
good.
have to be switching one out for the other. I talk about this with our accounts and with people at the tap room all the time. If you want to have 4 beers, have 2 or 3 Pilsners, have an NA beer, and then have an IPA.
Yeah.
Like you can mix it up.
Yeah.
You can add this into the fold.
Right.
And it's just a nice way to kind of stretch out your drinking or just break it up.
And it does make a difference if we're honest about the social aspect of drinking. It does make a difference if you're so. While not drinking this month, we do a vinyl night here on Thursday nights, which is my event, so I have to be here. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest with you and my listeners. I have never hung out in a bar for more than an hour and not had a drink. I'm not going to hang. If I'm not drinking, I'm not at the bar, but I have to be here. And it does make a difference when you can crack a nice NA beer.
Yep.
It really does. There's a social aspect about it. And on the couple of nights where I didn't even crack like an NA, I just had some water, it just kind of wasn't the same. And the people I was around, they felt it was different too. Do you know what I'm saying
There's
about that,
a
Alex?
level of discomfort
Yeah.
being around people who are drinking when you're not drinking. And
Mhm.
yeah, you can get a Diet Coke, you can get a water. It still, it's totally inside you,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Nobody else gives a shit what you're doing.
Yeah.
But inside you're like, this doesn't feel right. But you get a good NA beer and
It
it
brings us
makes
back.
you
They
feel
taste good.
Yes.
It tastes
Well,
good.
and
It's
it makes you
worthwhile.
feel normal.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's all we want. Like,
Well, and if people have been around me for 20 years in this business, I'm having a beer with them. So it's also a
Right.
change, right? Like
Yeah.
but look, like I said, as we get older, hey, feel free to change.
Right.
And thank you for helping me feel free to change, I guess is what I'm getting at too.
But it's interesting you bring it up because it is so normalized in the industry that anywhere you go, you have a drink.
Yeah,
And you go to
Yep.
visit a brewery. And I tell you, so I haven't had a drink in 7 years.
Okay. Yeah.
But when I first decided I wanted to stop drinking, it was so hard because I work in the industry. Every time I'd go to a brewery,
Yeah.
well, first thing they do, put a beer in front of you. And do you want to have that awkward conversation of, I'm trying not to drink?
Right.
And then first, all right, then you drink that beer. Well, now it's 7 years. It's
Yeah.
all my friends in the industry know I don't drink. But we went to Faction the other day. What's the date today? I think they're releasing that beer.
All right.
Any
The
day now.
22nd today.
Okay, so Faction collabs out in 2 days. So
Nice.
Go
Nice
drink
plug.
it.
Nice plug.
Right. But we're there and it's like we're hanging out with Roger and they have fucking NA beers there.
Nice.
So boom, hey, here.
There
take
we go.
one.
Yeah.
And it's just nice now that
Yeah.
you can go to a brewery, go to a bar. The options are there. It used to just be, God, what's that?
Klaus
German?
Holler, baby.
Klaus Holler.
Oh, yeah.
It used to be the only
Yeah.
option. You'd go to a bar. I'd go to O'Brien's.
Yeah,
You know,
stinky
this is-
old skunky Klaus Heller.
Yeah,
Yeah.
going back
Crushed a couple of those. I
5,
love that
6,
stuff.
7 years now.
Yeah.
I'd go to O'Brien's in San Diego and be like, give me one of your Klaus Hollers that have been there for a year, right?
Yeah,
Hold on,
'cause
let
no
me
one else
dust
is
it off
drinking
for
them
you.
either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had one at Eli's Mile High Club
Right.
like a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And so literally bars were buying a 6-pack at a time of NA beer.
Yes.
Now Matthew can tell you, because to be honest, I don't do shit. I don't go out, but Matthew
I have to. Yeah.
seems like he puts a lot of NA beer at bars
Well,
now.
I mean,
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
if I'm visiting 10 accounts in a day, I love drinking. I love beer.
Yep.
And, I can putz around and I can have a couple beers at each bar, but it is really nice to still be able to engage with people,
Yeah.
have an NA or something that's not alcoholic and be able to make the rounds and
Yeah.
feel safe. And then,
Well, and for me, it's nice to be able to get behind it. So I work in the hop grenade nowadays. I didn't used to. So I'm the one selling beer out there sometimes. And when we've had other NA beer because you just kind of have to. And when people ask me what we have and is it good, I'm just kind of like, well, this is what we have. And now I can go, oh, you want a good one? Have that Fieldwork.
which is tough to do when you have a list of beer
Yeah.
on draft that
Yeah.
is so good.
Yeah.
And then you have this kind of redheaded stepchild
Right.
NA that nobody really wants. Now you can offer them something good. And I was going to say it's kind of the same ethos. We have 30 different beers on tap. The whole idea is that whoever walks in the door at one of our tap rooms can find something they want.
Yeah.
And now if they want an NA, if somebody's not drinking or they want to break it up, they can get a good NA.
Absolutely.
But I think that goes back to what you were saying is this a fluke happenstance?
Yeah.
genuinely, I thought it kind of was at first.
Okay.
And then I was in San Diego visiting my best friend, and we went out to a restaurant for dinner. And I ordered an NA beer. They bring it to the table. And my buddy and his wife were like, "Oh, we love that one." I'm like,
What?
"Why? Why do you even know, let alone this?" And they drink NA beer during the week.
Okay.
And then on the weekends, they'll drink regular beer. Or
I
they'll
see.
drink a beer and then an NA beer. And I'm like, oh, it isn't just, I thought it was just for people like me. And
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, it's permeated into
it has.
just culture now, isn't
Well,
what
craft
it
beer
was.
is changing too.
Yeah.
Overall, the demographics are changing, or who
It
is
is,
drinking
yeah.
craft beer, and
And we see that, I see that here at the bar.
Yeah, I
Like
bet.
some of our regulars even have aged out of being
Yeah.
able to drink craft beer like they used to. Like our bodies just change. And not only do they change, I've been saying this because I'm one of the most honest people, I think, in the industry. I've been saying for years that this is a problem. This is going to be a problem. We can't go on forever pounding 4 beers a night. This is going to end up a problem. And the industry, because society is starting to become so much more sober curious, the industry is finally admitting it too. Even though they knew it. Everyone knew it all along. They just didn't want me saying it.
Oh no, 1,000%. This industry was out of control up until COVID.
Yeah.
We all were drinking so much, and
Yes.
there was no one was pumping the brakes, and
Right.
I think COVID really helped. I think a lot of people just kind of put things in perspective,
Yeah.
and the industry's always had this wicked problem with
Yeah.
drinking and mental health.
And yes, yeah.
It was always just kind of ignored and pretended it wasn't there.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
Yeah,
not to be a bummer, but it's like,
when
I'm going to
there's
say
so
it.
much growth.
Well,
Go ahead.
Yeah.
the amount of fucking people I know in this industry who've committed suicide is fucking mental.
Yikes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you look at that, and then you look at the people who've also passed away from other alcohol-related
Exactly.
illness things. Then you're sitting there going, fuck, man. Like, this
Right.
industry definitely needed to change. I think it's awesome to see that, hey, everyone's getting older, and everyone's like, can't party like that anymore.
Yep.
And I think people are kind of respecting their bodies and their minds more now after being locked inside for a couple of years.
Yeah, and being open to
think-
diversity and trying something new and doing something
Yeah.
different. There was this,
Well, it's not taboo. The taboo has been
exactly.
removed now
Exactly.
to where
Yeah.
it's normalized.
Yeah, it's not even just normalized. I think it's kind of almost like congratulate. Like,
Yeah.
I think people are impressed now when you say, I'm putting my mental health first, putting my physical health first.
Yeah.
So I think it was a change that had to come, and I think it's a great thing. And
Yeah.
I just wish there was more good NA out there. 'cause
Absolutely.
We're doing
it
our
was
part.
rough for a long time. It's getting better, but it's still rough.
Yeah. I
Justin,
agree.
can I tell everybody what we're tasting
Absolutely.
here?
Let's do that. Yeah.
We're just drinking our Fieldwork Light, which is an American Pils. The thing that I like about this is you still get a really nice, beautiful Idaho grown like Pilsner malt character to it. There's body to it. You get some of that crispy, crackery like Pils character.
Yep.
And then a little bit of Americanized hopping to it to kind of tweak it up a little bit, but really super crushable.
You do still have to
hop oil.
put in hops and malt and everything to make an NA beer,
Exactly.
right? It's not like
Yeah.
you're removing one of the 4 ingredients, right? Malt,
Yep.
hops, water, yeast are
Yep.
all still the 4 primary ingredients of this beer?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Got it.
And there's nothing, I mean, this is my probably second favorite of all of our NAs.
Okay.
It's probably the one I would drink probably the most often. It's the one I'm maybe most proud of because we didn't pilot this one. So I'm not
Nice.
I'm not dogging any breweries right now because, but like in a lot of the NA advertising, they're loving to push right now how long they've been working on R&D and how much money they've invested. That is not a shot. That is fucking awesome. They did that.
Right.
And I think they deserve a lot of credit. So the breweries that have put that R&D in, this was just a shot in the dark. We
Okay.
rolled 200 barrels
Wow.
of.
It's the first NA that you ever made?
No.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
this one was
This
just,
is the fourth.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the fourth
Yeah.
one. But
Okay. But you just went
Alex
for
had
it.
an idea, and he's like, "It's gonna be good."
Yeah, and they were like, "Well, do we want?" I was like, "Nah, go for it. Dude,
Nice.
roll it."
Yep. Here's
and
the
it
recipe.
came out,
run it.
and it came out. I was like, "Perfect. This is what I wanted. I wanted something that tasted like not Bud Heavy, somewhere between Bud Light and Bud Heavy."
Yeah.
It's a crusher. but
It's
there's
a
really-
simple,
It's so, yeah.
very
it's
simple
a crusher.
It's only one, and it's Pilsner malt.
Yeah.
Willamette hops.
Okay.
Simple. Berkeley maltose negative yeast. Super clean.
Yeah. What does that mean that it's a maltose negative yeast?
Essentially, it's a strain of yeast that will ferment short chain sugars and not long chain. So if you can get your mash temp up high enough, design your malt bill properly, you will get very, very little fermentation.
Okay.
But it's enough fermentation to, I'm trying to think of how to describe it, to make it not so wordy.
Yeah. And that's what I don't like about NA beer.
Yeah.
It
I
just,
agree.
everyone I've ever had until yours, in some way, just tastes like wort.
Yep.
Some less than others, but it still just tasted like wort.
And I can't explain it to
hop tea.
most people. If somebody's not a brewer and they're like, "Hey, try this NA," and I try it, I can't describe to them what wort tastes like, right?
Sure.
Because
It's
they're not a
unfinished.
brewer.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it is absolutely vile to me. Like, it's gross.
Yeah.
And that's how, yes, a lot of, so another method would be arrested fermentation.
Okay.
Or they'll do arrested fermentation with dilution. But either way, it always produces that kind of wort flavor.
It's like something is being left behind. Like there's something about fermentation that takes away that stuff.
Yes.
And so when you're fucking with fermentation with your NA beer, it's like, well, you messed it up.
Yeah. It's no wonder it doesn't taste right.
So are you saying that this one is not wordy because it left behind those long chain sugars?
No, well, I think
okay.
it's a multitude of things.
Okay.
It's definitely the selection of grain,
I see.
which I think a lot of this goes back to, like, we were talking about this before you hit the record button, but me not drinking for 7 years is, I think, why we have a competitive advantage in NA is I've been drinking NA beers for 7 years.
Right.
And I know what's really bad about most of them. So as soon as, going back to like the how many years of R&D and millions of dollars you spent, we spent 3 weeks and $5,000 and we had our first NA beer ready.
Amazing.
It took.
Was it your idea to do NA beer or was it Barry's?
So it was, I believe, originally my idea.
You've been talking about it for years.
Because the reason I ask is I would think that you might have it in your mind like this isn't going to work. If it would work, I would have had a good one over the past 7 years.
Okay. Yes. So, well, there's the barrier to entry has always been very high.
Okay.
I think Berkeley yeast, and there are other companies, L'Allemande and some others that have maltose negative strains. Some are worse than others.
Okay.
I think Berkeley yeast did a great job lowering that barrier to entry.
Okay.
In theory,
Cost.
we can.
Yeah.
Can talk about why it's not actually the best idea for people to just jump into it unless they have all the equipment you need. But
That's what I was going to say is there's also an equipment component. And you have to make the decision. We're doing these and we're getting them out wider. We're not just having these at our tap rooms. We're getting these products into retail. It's not something that you can really justifiably do economically on a small scale.
Yeah.
Like these are pasteurized.
Okay. And they have to be.
Well, and not just tunnel pasteurized.
Correct.
So, which we can get into a little later, but I mean, the bottle shop in the town I live in, I bought out every NA beer they had.
Okay.
Tried every single NA before we really went into this because I feel like technology finally caught up to where my whole thing was I do not want to make an NA beer unless A, it tastes like the style, the actual style, and B, it tastes good, like really good. Like I'd be excited to drink. Otherwise, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And to be able to go into it 2 feet and all the way and say, we're going to do this. Like we're not going to half step it.
Yeah.
And do, we're going to do a line of all 4. We're going to have this kind of scaled up and able to get out.
Yeah. But so you had Berkeley yeast started developing, some really amazing products. And then you have Abstracts, you have Yakima Chief, you have Fuck, that one out of England. I can't remember what it's called, but you have all these companies creating these really cool products and technologies that making NA beer possible now.
Okay, got it.
So, and not just possible, but making good to great NA beer possible.
Yeah, something that doesn't taste like a cooked pumpkin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you ferment this beer with this maltose negative yeast, is there alcohol in it at the end of that fermentation?
Yes, but below your 0.5 limit.
Oh, it is. So I thought it was maybe more and you had to somehow remove it.
No. That is, though. There's one of the best NA beers I'd ever had was actually Burnt Mill out in just outside of Ipswich, England. I was staying with them, and his head brewer, she worked at Muttons, which is right across the highway from them. And she had done a kind of, and this was, 8 years ago, she had done a small scale batch using arrested fermentation with dilution. So she was over the threshold, diluted it down.
Okay.
And it was delicious.
I see.
You can always go back and add more water to get your ABV.
So it's not like you're removing the alcohol, you're diluting it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Below 0.05%.
Yeah. So
And
that's it. So
we
is that
joke-
on the can? Like, do you have to put
that's
it on there?
illegal. Yeah, that's illegal.
So where
thing.
is that going to
Should
say
be on
that?
the bottom.
Okay.
oh my God, did we forget to put it on the can?
Uh-oh.
Whoops.
No, underneath the American Pills it says non-alc, and I think it has the below
1
under
pint.
0.05.
You're legit making me nervous. Is it seriously?
I know.
Right here.
It's got to be
right here.
It's right. Oh, I
There
see.
it is.
Very bottom.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
But
Less than 0.5%.
Yes.
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. And we joke, somebody at the bar at one of the tap rooms got super upset because she wanted a non-alcoholic option, and the bartender served this to her.
Uh-huh.
And she was like, this says it has alcohol in it. It's like, well, this is the equivalent of an unpasteurized orange juice, has the same amount of alcohol. Like this
Oh,
is
is that right?
This is
dude,
it's a
no.
it's a legally negligible amount of alcohol. So yeah, that's why it's 0.5
Yeah. So
or less.
that's one of the
alcohol.
wildest things. So you can eat a piece of ripe fruit.
Yeah.
It's going to have more alcohol in it than this fucking beer.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. Yeah.
There's
Yep.
so many, alcohol's in so many things,
Right.
you know.
But
from
if it's a
from
negligible.
legal,
Yeah.
from a legal categorization standpoint, 0.5 or less percent
Yeah.
is considered a non-alc beer.
Okay.
Yeah. But
got
to
it.
go back to what you were asking, there's absolutely methods for alcohol removal.
Okay.
I had from, I've dogged enough NA beers. I'll say some positive things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Three Weavers had a lager that, I hope I'm not getting this wrong. I'm almost positive it's Three Weavers had a lager that was vacuum distilled, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
Cool.
it was really quite nice. It was very drinkable. I think the vacuum distillation's absolutely an awesome technique for lagers. I don't think it does very well for IPAs. All the ones I've had that were vacuum distilled, I did not care for.
Okay.
But that's just me.
Yeah.
Tastes are different.
Yeah.
I mean, just like brewing anything else, deciding what you want the end result to be and working backwards, picking a process
100%.
to execute it is what you got to do.
Mhm.
Yeah, which is, and for us, that's the hardest thing about what we do is, I think making a tasty NA beer is very hard.
Mhm.
Making a tasty NA beer that is properly tunnel pasteurized, really, really fucking hard. That's not easy.
This is a good example. Justin just poured some of our Day Money,
Yeah.
which is a grapefruit blonde ale.
Yeah.
And having this come out of a tunnel pasteurizer with the nose that it has is pretty incredible.
in balance. It doesn't
And
go too far one direction or the other.
Yeah.
Once it's
And you're
out of
saying
the
because of the
pasteurizer
amount of
standards.
heat that you're putting on the beer, it's going to mess
Yeah.
it up. That's what you're saying.
time and temperature,
Yeah,
so you have to plan for that, design around that,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really hard because you're talking all these aroma compounds have different thresholds to be able to withstand
Mm-hmm.
the pasteurizer.
Yeah.
Certain things like pinene and myrcene, we've seen in tests that they hold up pretty damn well.
Okay.
So then when you're designing something, especially something hoppy, you do have to think like, what do I want this to come out of that pasteurizer tasting like?
Right.
And if you want a lot of like geraniol, linalool, certain compounds that do get just thrashed by the pasteurizer, you better really build those up.
I see.
Or design around that. And there has to be thought and really, I mean, down to that minutia. Otherwise, you're going to get a cooked mess.
Sure.
Yeah, and
doesn't have
waste a
any-
whole bunch of product.
Yeah. Well,
that- yeah.
Not get a good result.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's the case with some of these that I've tried that I just, because cooked mess is another description I would give half of the ones I've tried in my life.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
now
yeah.
this one, because it has, this was actually the first beer of yours that I tried.
Yeah.
And so I actually skipped ahead to the compliments.
Yeah.
The first thing I thought was, okay, that's good, but you fucking cheated.
Oh, for sure.
Because of the grapefruit.
Yes.
So I was like, so I'm not
Fair.
going to say it's a good NA beer yet. I enjoyed tasting it,
Yeah.
but I did not make my judgment or invite you to the show until I went and tried one
That's
that was
funny.
just a beer.
The body on this is really good.
It's
Yeah.
delicious.
Yeah.
So here's another thing. I would never order a grapefruit alcohol beer. I don't
Yeah.
like fruit in my beer. I will order this any day.
Hell yeah.
It just came out good. And maybe there's just something about the mindset when it's an NA that I'm like, okay, I'll give it a little more grace. I can have a little fruit in my beer. I don't know.
You have to with NA beer that you. I mean, I think light's a great example that you can use the 4 ingredients and land that shit.
Yeah.
Land that plain perfect. But as you start trying to get into more kind of, I think, complicated beer styles, you got to get creative. And
It makes sense. I also think it's going to be good for the people who want to buy these beers. They
Yes.
want it to be more unique and more like this. To me, this beer is the equivalent of someone coming to my bar and going, I want to try all the hazies that you have on your list because that's my style, right? Then that's a bunch of variety that like they like.
Yeah.
This beer would satisfy that for a non-alcohol drinker.
Yeah.
Because it's different and it still tastes like a beer. So yeah. Also, and then I would guess, like you're kind of saying, you have to get creative. Things like grapefruit are something that are in other pasteurized products that we've tasted and are familiar with, right? Like they have to pasteurize grapefruit juice for me to have it, right?
Yeah.
So in other words, it's already been through that test, right? You just are adding it to beer.
I didn't think of it that way, but yes, completely. Like,
okay, yeah.
To me, it was just that, I mean, I don't even know why I wanted, because this was the second beer we created in the NA lineup, and I think it was mostly just I knew it works.
Okay.
It's a classic flavor combo.
Yes.
It's very,
Yeah.
it reads as like a Radler, but it's like summertime,
Yeah.
especially to have, in my opinion, like a nice diverse lineup. We have 4 different NAs.
Yeah.
We have the IPAs. We have a hazy on the West Coast. We have the light. This slots perfectly into that kind of in-between space.
Yeah.
And the body is just really nice and puffy. And
Well, and I think it dances an awkward line across a lot of styles. So you got the citrus, which, IPA is known for, but you also have that kind of, it could slide in for a Blue Moon drink or whatever, the wheat drinker, because it has the citrus that they're going to be familiar with. And just also the craft drinker. I mean, at the end of the day, like, we as an industry, we went really overboard with citrus for a while there. And so this is kind of a nod to that. Like,
totally.
Yeah.
But why not?
Yeah.
The other thing for us beer drinkers who are spending some time not drinking, people have been asking me like, okay, so what are you drinking? Because I'm known to drink a lot of beer all the time. That I'm either drinking water or beer.
Yeah.
So for the first half of the month or whatever, I was just drinking water, which is fine. It's not abnormal for me, but there's nothing changing it up. I'm not getting, and so people are asking me, what are you drinking? They wanted my advice. And I'm like, I don't have good advice for you. I'm just drinking boring water and I'm bored to fucking death, to be honest with you. Like, I might put a little cranberry juice in it, okay? That's right.
getting crazy.
So it is nice to have options. I didn't realize that I would actually just enjoy the flavor of beer without the alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
Absolutely.
that I would go, oh, I'll have a beer. That's fine.
So it's funny for me. So at least when I first quit drinking, I was drinking so much kombucha.
Okay, yeah.
Because I needed something bubbly.
Fill the void.
Yeah, I was lying to myself, being like, "Oh, it's kind of like drinking a sour."
There we go. Yeah.
I mean, and I was drinking enough. Like, God, it got to the point where my asshole was like a leaky Tesla battery. Like it was just pure acid coming out of my stomach.
Right.
And then, yeah, there was just no good NA beer really. I would drink, Bud Zero here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't want to just drink water. You want to kind of get out there, branch out, try other things.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I only drank hop water because it goes back to what you said. Why am I going to drink the calories?
Yeah.
Why the calories? Especially if I think it tastes like just dog butt.
Yeah.
Like,
Then don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Why am I going to drink that? And it wasn't until we started making them. It feels like narcissistic and gross to say that, but it wasn't until we started putting Headliner out there that I was like, I actually don't want to drink our hop water now. I want to drink Headliner because it tastes like a beer.
It scratches an itch.
Yeah.
I've been a vegetarian for 10 plus years.
Okay.
I love a Reuben sandwich.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I can go in Berkeley and I can go to the Butcher's Son and I can get a Reuben that's not real meat.
Okay. Yeah.
But I want that.
Right.
That's the thing that I want. It
The
scratches
flavor,
an itch.
yeah.
I want that like combination of flavors.
Yeah.
It's really similar. Like sometimes you just want a nice crisp cold beer. It's like I'm trying not to drink. I'm going to grab a Headliner or I'm going to grab a light, and it's just a nice fill-in.
Well, and it changed my mind because I never thought I'd feel that way. I always thought I'd feel like, no, just have the water then. But in spending some time with just the water, it gets boring as shit.
Yep.
So this is nice to just change it up. It's like food. You're going to, like you're saying, you're going to want to change up the variety of your food too. And I just didn't really think I would be the same with beer. And it turns out I am.
Well, thank you for the compliments.
Yeah, man. Well, let's do this. Let's take a quick break because we've got some more to try through also. We'll do that. Take a quick break. And then I want to ask you a little bit more about the pasteurization too, because I've just started to learn about this and some things I didn't realize, like I'll just tease it. Why don't I have kegs of NA beer on tap at the Hop Grenade? So we're going to dive into a few of those things when we come back. Hang in there. You're listening to The Session. We'll be right back.
Hi, here's your report.
Thanks, Jane. I wish I could hire a whole team of yous.
Try posting a job on LinkedIn. It's the world's largest professional network. Unlike resumes, LinkedIn gives a real-time view into a candidate's skills, experiences, and more.
Huh, let's do it. You're irreplaceable, Jane, but another you would be great.
Find your perfect match with LinkedIn. Post your free job at linkedin.com/achieve. That's linkedin.com/achieve. Terms and conditions apply.
I think you're on mute.
Workday's starting to sound the same.
I think you're on mute.
Find something that sounds better for your career on LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Job Collections, you can browse curated collections by relevant industries and benefits, like flex PTO or hybrid workplaces, so you can find the right job for you. Get started at linkedin.com/jobs. Finding where you fit. LinkedIn knows how.
Welcome back to The Session. Thank you for hanging out with us. We are still with Fieldwork Brewing Company. We've got Matthew and Alex here, and we're talking about non-alcoholic beer, of which we just poured an IPA in my glass.
West Coast IPA.
A West Coast IPA. Now, I've already tried it, but if I hadn't tried this would be the one where I'd be like, yeah, guys, there's no way it's going to be good. It's impossible. It's not possible. That's what before your beers, I would have said that to anybody. It's actually not possible. This doesn't taste exactly like an alcohol IPA, but it tastes like a damn good IPA. Does that make sense? Like there's just a little something missing, but I am so fine with that because with every other one I've had, everything's missing. Everything is missing.
Especially on the nose, the Mosaic. There's Mosaic, there's Simcoe, some hop oil stuff in there too, but really the nose brings you in. Like I right off the bat, I'm won over.
Yeah. So when we designed this is the first one we brewed. Jason, our head brewer, and I kind of worked together to figure out how do we want to do this? Let's put together a process. Let's put together a recipe. Let's do this. So we did our first one. Took everything we learned and went, all right, this is how it came out. This is all the things that were not in love with it, things we want to change, things we want to tweak.
Mm-hmm.
We brewed the second turn of it. And I'm at home in Arizona when this thing's getting pulled off the line for everyone to taste and run sensory on.
Okay.
And our Stu, COO, I almost said CFO, COO Stu, he straight up goes, dude, this is so much better than most breweries' IPAs.
Yes.
And I was like,
exactly right.
But I'm sitting there thinking, I'm in Arizona at home, and I'm like, oh God, we got to ban Stu from doing sensory because he's off his fucking rocker.
Right.
That's
there's no way.
So I come into town like a week later and they pour me a sample. I was like, get the fuck out. Stu was
we did a
right.
good
Like,
job.
it really did come out, I think, better than a lot of breweries
100%.
IPAs with alcohol. But
I agree with you.
going back to what you were saying, that one thing you're missing, alcohol is a catalyst for flavor on your palate. So alcohol, it works almost like MSG in a way where
I see.
Or like the salt to make things pop.
yeah, and that is one of the hardest things about designing a hoppy NA beer is you're talking about a plant that you're putting into a beer that has most of its flavor compounds are alcohol soluble.
I see.
And you're putting them into a solution that doesn't have a reasonable amount of alcohol to extract these compounds.
Got it.
So that's where designing the NA beer really starts getting hard is the hops you pick, the compounds present in that, how you are able to extract some of these flavors and aromas out of hops when you don't have alcohol. Getting creative ways to still pull the character out of the hops.
Yeah.
See,
that's
it gets really tricky.
I'm glad you're bringing that up because I knew it's obvious that alcohol has to have some effect. Otherwise, it would have been easy to make an NA beer. But yeah, I guess I just didn't really think of exactly what. And yeah, it's like taking salt out of your favorite food. It makes sense to me the way you're describing it. So you're picking hops that the compounds are going to come out in solution that also aren't going to be abused too much by the pasteurization process.
That will survive it. And then...
And a little bit of color in the malt too. Like a little bit deeper, not super straight up pale.
Okay.
But I'm really proud of the fact that we're not leaning into a super like heavy malt bomb in order to kind of mask some of the other things that are missing. It's
completely,
it's not that at all. It's a well-balanced... Yes, it's a crutch. I feel like.
Well, it's a West Coast IPA.
There's a little
dry.
bit of color. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's dry.
I think it's a dry beer. Yeah.
But that also goes back into though when you don't have alcohol, another thing you lose is body.
Yeah.
So I mean, you aren't producing glycerols for that mouthfeel like you normally would in a beer. You don't think of it in let's say a medium alcohol beer like an IPA. You think of that big glycerol production like imperial stouts, things like that. It's still there though, and when you remove most of the alcohol, almost all of the alcohol production, it's really your palate. It's just very deceptive on how it sits on your palate.
Okay.
So you can have a higher finishing gravity and it will still taste watery and thin and shitty. So
I see.
Which you see in a lot of NA beers.
It's the
they're
first thing
either
I lead
too
with.
sweet or they're too lean.
Yeah.
The body to me
Yeah.
is, I think, one of the biggest achievements in these beers is like it's a really solid, beautiful body that reads like a beer.
I think your body is one of the most beautiful achievements. So
yeah, thank you. It's all those vegetarian Reubens.
Baby.
So can we talk about gravity for a second then? Because this is something that is completely out of my mind. Like I don't understand what is your starting gravity on a beer like this? Can I ask you that?
Cannot tell you.
I can't. Can I ask you that?
Yeah.
Is it similar to a normal alcohol IPA?
Absolutely not. No,
it's not.
No.
Okay. It's lower, right?
Yeah. You have to go lower.
Yeah.
Mostly, I mean, that's one of the trickiest things is finding the balance between your starting gravity. Your finishing gravity is going to be dictated upon how well you were able to build up, all those long chain sugars.
Is your finishing gravity and your starting gravity super close?
Yeah.
It is, right?
Yeah.
So we're not talking about like a massive difference like a regular IPA would be.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, because that part just boggles my mind. But there has to be some change. There's a fermentation that takes place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's one of the things where it's, I mean, the level of complexity trying to design these is daunting.
Yeah.
There's a million pitfalls you can stumble into with these beers. And even like we're saying, the color, like you're putting very, very little malt into this.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to get it to look just like the beer that you wished you were actually drinking.
Yeah.
That's really tricky because you have to be thinking about what color is this going to end up being. But then when I add these malts to get it to that color, what then is that going to result in? Is that going to give me that, yucco, overly malty, wordy, or just undesirables? Is it going to come out like, I don't know, used cabbage in a diaper? Like, there's a lot of potential issues at play.
Yeah.
So that is one thing I like, is that we know what works on that malt side, and it's tricky.
Is it the same malt that you'd used in your alcohol beers?
No.
Different malt entirely.
It depends on the beer.
We make so many different beers. It's
I know,
hard.
yeah.
So you're not just using less of it. It also can be different entirely.
Yeah. But it's, I mean, that's, I'm hoping this discussion isn't too manic, jumping everywhere, but that's another thing, though, is just to be able to mash with that little amount of grain.
Yeah.
Logistical nightmare on most systems.
Okay.
It's really difficult because you don't have the controls. You're not even hitting, like on our mash mix, you're not even coming close to hitting the temp probe because there's so little grain in there, right?
Right.
And then how are you going to louder that? How are you going to get that clear?
Because you still need the same volume of liquid. You still need your 200 barrels.
Yes. And then, but your grain bed's a fucking inch high.
That's insane.
So there's all these just absolute logistical pitfalls.
That sounds impossible.
It really is so tricky, though.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking about, things that you don't have to think about. Like one of the first things we figured out, our first test batch, we're like, why in the fuck is the DO so high?
The dissolved
and then we're
oxygen
sitting there and we're like, it took me like 4 days, and I called Jason, our head brewer. I was like, motherfucker, we need to purge the fermenter because there's not enough active fermentation to blow the headspace out.
Yeah.
So the headspace still had oxygen in it.
Right.
So when you're going to push the beer out or carb, you're mixing oxygen in.
Wow.
So there's all these like just absolutely things that you never thought you'd have to think about for brewing.
Right.
With NA, you have to think about now.
See, you're to me making an argument for those other processes then. Like do it where you just brew the beer and remove the alcohol. It sounds so much easier.
For sure.
Easier and worse flavor.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
I won't say worse flavor. I will say different flavor.
Okay.
Because again, I've had some awesome ones.
Okay.
Like I will die on the hill that like Bud Zero and Old Milwaukee's NA are like two of the best NA beers in the world.
Now I gotta try.
They taste like the same beer.
Yeah.
Like they're really close.
Okay.
Delicious, I think. So
and do you know what process they use?
They're using vacuum distillation.
Okay.
So but have I had a good IPA that was vacuum distilled? I don't think so. Have I had a good IPA that was tunnel pasteurized? They're just.
You've also got head retention in this beer.
Isn't that wild?
Like with the amount of malt you're talking about using, I'm like, so you don't have head retention, you don't have this, you don't have that.
Exactly.
But you do.
Literally,
I have lacing on my glass right now.
There's 1,000 reasons for it not to work.
Yeah.
When you're making an NA beer, and you have to identify. I think being just naturally a manic person is good for me because my brain's going a million miles a minute. I'm thinking, what's every single little factor that we could run into?
Right.
And Jason, our head brewer, is so good at collaborative and just thinking about process. And, he's like me. He's like, let's figure out just the simplest, easiest way to move this through its like grain to glass.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we worked out a process that we're like, this is pretty bulletproof, And once we got that second batch of headliner brewed, we're like, oh, okay, we get this now.
What size batches were you brewing to get through this?
50 barrels at first.
Yeah. Okay.
So we did a 50 barrel, dumped it, 50 barrel, loved it. Then it was time to pasteurize, see how does it hold up to the pasteurizer.
Okay.
And then from there, it was, all right, here's the tweaks, like to get it to hold up even better. Because the first one held up good.
It was solid, but it wasn't perfect.
Yeah. But we literally ran like a handful of cases of it, pasteurized them, then went, okay, now let's see what can we do next. And then it was rolling the dice and going, let's go bigger and bigger and bigger.
Okay.
Well, and this is the other side of it too, that I don't think a lot of other folks have is we've been in business for 10 years. This is our 10-year anniversary this year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have 8 tap rooms right now. We have 2 more that are coming online this year.
Nice.
We have a great, awesome, dedicated, loyal customer base. We have a lot of great beer available all the time. We have places to sell this beer. You know, we're not showing up to the marketplace within, you know, any liquid that you make these days, beer or otherwise. You got to find people who want to buy it and who are going to drink it.
Sure.
And that's easier said than done. So we're really lucky and fortunate that we have a great group of customers and you know, wholesale accounts, retail, everybody who taste it, love it, and want to support it.
Yeah.
So we're able to make it.
Where is it on your sales charts? You're not selling more NA than you are selling an IPA, are you?
No, but it's crushing, man. It's been an incredible. We just rolled this out. It hasn't even been a full year yet.
Okay.
The first batch was March, April last year, right, Alex?
Dude, I don't know, man. It all blurs together.
Yeah. So it's been, I mean, and really, it's only been in earnest maybe 6 months.
Okay.
And I think you were talking earlier something, is this a fad?
Mm-hmm.
I think there is obviously a lot of hype because a lot of folks, you know, beer sales, draft sales are down, like, you know, big picture. And some people are seeing this as like a hot thing, as a savior, a way to save their brewery. But we're really fortunate. We're like, we've only been growing, even our alcohol sales, you know, my side of the business on the sales side, you know, it's been great. And
That's
this
lucky.
is just
and smart work, smart decisions.
It's been additive, I guess is what I'm getting at.
I see.
This is a really nice addition to all the other stuff that we do. An addition to be able to offer this to our taproom guests.
Yeah.
In addition to, you know, hey, you guys are bringing in 2 kegs, a hazy IPA and a Pilsner, and cool, grab a case of NA.
Yep.
Like it's huge. So it's been great, and it hasn't even been a full year yet.
Amazing. So can we talk? Let's go back to pasteurization a little bit too. I want to talk about that since you kind of just said, hey, draft sales are down. That's happening across the industry,
but
in the industry around craft beer. For us here at the Hop Grenade too, draft sales have been in the decline for over 5 years.
Yeah,
it started pre-COVID, and you know we were almost poaching ourselves with our bottle and can selection, but it's just we had to offer it.
Yep.
But anyhow, so we can state the obvious. Non-alcoholic beer doesn't have alcohol to keep it safe to drink. Alcohol beer, this is why every shitty brewer on earth who doesn't know shit about brewing was never going to kill anybody by opening a brewery. Because as long as there was alcohol in there, the FDA didn't really give a shit.
Pathogens don't survive well in alcoholic products.
Right. So now, of all the other difficulties you were just talking about, Alex, now you add in, oh shit, I don't have alcohol to save my ass anymore either.
Yeah.
So that's where the pasteurization comes in.
Yep.
What I didn't think about was I always thought I didn't see NA beer on draft because there just weren't enough people drinking it. But I think I've just recently learned it's really difficult to pasteurize draft beer.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, so there are breweries doing it.
Okay.
The problem you run into is you can pasteurize anything, right?
Okay, yeah.
I can pasteurize Matthew if he'd let me.
Right.
The problem is with kegs is it's once the beer leaves that closed system that is a keg and it hits that line needs to be virtually sterile, right?
Yeah.
Or it will start turning right there and you can make people sick.
Yeah.
And then the faucet and so there's that whole system now.
Even just pasteurizing kegs is a nightmare. Like, just from a logistical and time and money standpoint.
Oh, for sure. That side of it, yes. I know there are companies doing it. And then
for sure,
I think it's Heineken or Guinness. One of them is working on developing a NA draft system.
Shelf stable. Okay.
A draft so that they can start selling.
Interesting. Because I wouldn't want to, so when you put it that way, I don't want your NA beer on my draft line. I don't want to be responsible for that.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
No,
in my opinion.
I would personally, I would love it in theory.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to go to a bar, sit down with my friends and go, yes, give me
draft,
that one, you know.
Tap 18, please.
Yeah. And then have them pour me. That would be a cool experience to have.
Sure.
However, the dysentery isn't worth it. And so, you know, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But it is, you know, this is kind of funny because Matthew had mentioned how like a lot of breweries are looking at this like a lifeline right now.
Mhm.
Like, oh, we gotta get an NA, and it's very hot right now.
Mhm.
It reminds me a lot of when hazy IPAs first came out, because no one knew how the fuck to make them.
Yeah.
The people who were making them, a lot of them were making real dog shit ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they were selling. It was the only growth we were seeing, right? Was the hazies for a while. The only difference is back then when you didn't know what the fuck you were doing, you weren't going to actually potentially kill somebody or make them very sick.
Sure.
With NA, that is a very real issue. I mean,
Yeah.
even like I had said, I went to my local bottle shop in my town, bought every NA they had. I can't tell you how many of them were infected.
Oh, really?
So many of them that I opened.
Oh, no.
And some of them were from breweries that literally only make NA. And I'm like, bro, what the fuck?
Do you guys put an expiration date on these then for those reasons? Or no, you don't have to.
We have the canned
Once you
on-
pasteurize, then
We have the canned on date. We're
Okay.
checking them for, how long cold stored and on the shelf, like warm, dry stored. What's, I help run the QC department with Alex and Jason as well. And this is something we talk about because, like I said, we haven't even had these products for a year. So
yeah.
we're testing these. Like I just the other day actually opened some up from September and tasted them against the batch from November and then against the newest batch.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we're still like running all the QC. Thankfully, because of the pasteurization, they're incredibly stable.
Okay. Yeah.
It is-
Obviously the IPAs are aging. Like you can taste the 3-month-old difference.
Mhm.
But
on
it's
them.
pretty wild
It's
how
negligible, though.
you
It's
don't
crazy.
get the same drop off because you
No.
already got the big drop off when you pasteurized.
I see.
So you're not getting
point.
that like unexpected loss of fresh IPA-ness that you normally would see.
Yeah.
It's more of just a slow decline, kind of like society.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
But they've been incredibly stable. It's been really
Yeah.
cool actually tasting
Nice.
them as they get a little bit of age on them.
Yeah.
But I mean, especially something like the Day Money, bulletproof.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
great.
Nice.
But to go back, I mean, the pasteurization is so important.
Yeah.
And I think there's not a lot. I mean, there's a handful of breweries out there, and dude, I'm not going to yuck nobody's yum. And I think Mitch Steele did a really cool talk at CBC last year about how he's controlling NA beer he's not letting it out. He's not letting it to go.
Oh.
He's checking it.
Mhm.
And I was sitting there and I'm like, dude, that's sick. And Mitch is the man.
Yep.
Like
Oh, yeah.
he literally wrote the book.
Yeah.
But I'm also sitting there looking around the room and I'm like, but I don't trust a lot of these dudes.
Yeah.
Well, it's risk tolerance. It's how much are you willing to, if you have your hands on it every single day. Totally. I get that.
It's risk tolerance, but it's also education, ability,
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
lab, there's
Yes.
so much that goes into it. And I'm just sitting there going, a lot of these people should not be even messing with it.
And
Mitch,
that's what I meant.
I
like,
trust him as with it.
Yeah,
Like,
anybody could make beer. It's just,
Yes.
it's one of the coolest and worst things about beer. Is that I say the same thing about podcasts, by the way. The best thing about podcasts is that anybody can do them. The worst thing about podcasts is that anybody can do them. It's just, so I agree with you on that. And I guess I hadn't really thought about it. I've definitely thought about the fact that it has to be pasteurized and that it's not shelf stable with alcohol. But I haven't thought about who I trust to make it for me and do
for
it
sure.
right. Now that
Right?
man,
Yep.
you
Oh,
just
you
put
should
that
be
in my
worried.
brain. I'm just gonna be having yours
well,
anyway.
but so there's other products coming out there now that I think a lot of brewers are looking into, so that they don't pasteurize. So
I see.
one of the things I would say for any brewer out there who is looking to make NA beer, talk to a process authority.
Okay.
Do not make the decision on your own what is safe for a consumer. That's I get wanting to make that decision on your own.
Yeah, but that's dangerous territory.
It is, man.
Yeah.
So I would say talk to a process authority, get their approval on your process before you do any of it. Because there were a lot of people who left CBC thinking, I won't name the product, but there is a product out there that was claiming that they're a quote from their website, a replacement for tunnel pasteurization.
Okay.
Okay. We were one of the first people ever to use their product. We were testing it. We saw failures in their testing.
Mm-hmm.
We did not, it had a lot of side effects on the product that we did not like.
Okay.
And also it is not a kill step. It doesn't kill anything.
Yeah.
All it was a preservative, but they marketed it as a replacement for pasteurization. But
Right.
it didn't actually kill any yeast, bacteria, mold, spores, anything. At the end of the day, when you dry hop a beer, you're introducing yeast, bacteria, mold, spores. There's shit on hops.
Right.
People can say they're antimicrobial all they want, but they still have all this on there.
Of course.
So you're the load of bacteria, yeast, all this stuff that goes into the non-alcoholic beer is starting to become significant enough where
Mm-hmm.
you need a lot of heat and time to kill it. And just
Right.
putting, and you're talking, I mean, I don't want to bore everyone to death about this because I
don't
like
think
it's
you
not
are. Yeah.
exciting.
No,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
But you can't, and then you have solid matter in the beer. So like
Mhm.
there's solids in there, and the more that's in there, the less effective a pasteurization step's going to be.
Okay.
But also with those new products that are coming out that are designed to quote unquote replace pasteurization, they become ineffective.
Mm.
So even something like, I don't believe Velcorin's approved for beer or NA beer yet. But even that, which is some wild shit, it will kill you if you
Wow.
consume it within 24 hours. But after 24 hours, I believe it breaks down into a fairly tepid acid. I'm not sure which
That's
it is,
crazy. Yeah.
but it's not approved for beer or NA beer because there's usually too many solids in there
Okay.
for it to be effective.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's like, again, man, 1,000 pitfalls for this to not work. So at the end of the day, tunnel pasteurization or talk to your process authority, do a flash pasteurization with a preservative, a combo like that makes a lot more sense now.
Okay.
But if you ask me, it's like tunnel pasteurization is how you make it bulletproof. And
that's just because it's a longer time and a hotter temperature?
well, and it's a closed system now. It's in
I
a
see.
can. No bacteria or yeast can come in. When you're flash pasteurizing, it's in line before it makes it into the can. So your point of canning, your canning line
Mm-hmm.
and the can itself, in theory, can introduce spoilage
Got it.
and or pathogens
Pathogens.
even.
And this gets back,
So,
I think, to the,
yeah.
we talked about, is this a fad? I think when people realize how difficult this is to do really well,
Yeah.
there's going to be a bunch of stuff and people that kind of drop off and just say, it's not worth it.
Sure.
We're really committed to this.
Yeah.
Like we are going to have this in our portfolio of products moving forward. We're committed to having these in our tap rooms. We're really excited to have these out at retail and, at places like the Hop Grenade.
Yeah.
Like we're proud of these. We love them and we're committed to doing it what we feel like is the right way.
Sure.
I'll be honest, I'm kind of over it though. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Because you
like,
did
just-
it. You're like, I
yeah,
nailed it.
like,
Nailed it.
Next.
I'm kind of over it. So if we could find something new, different, cool to do.
You need a new challenge.
Yeah.
That's your job.
The other thing, the other reason I think it's probably not a fad this time is that it does seem like for the first time in generations, the drinking habits are actually changing.
Yeah.
So several years ago, I heard Bart Watson, he's now the
new president.
He's the new president of
Yes.
the Brewers Association. He used to be their economist. I heard him at the Great American Beer Festival doing a talk to brewers, and he basically was saying at that time, what you guys have heard about people drinking less isn't really true. We're still drinking about the same as we ever did. We are just finding it spread out across different varieties of things. Okay, that was about 4 or 5 years ago. When I had Bart Watson on again on the show last year, he said, well, that was true then. It's not true anymore. People are drinking less.
Yeah.
That's the first time it's ever happened.
There's less new
And so-
drinkers.
There's less new, and there's
coming
definitely
in.
less new craft drinkers too,
Yeah.
because that's what your dad did. Like that's what the kids,
Yeah.
they're like,
That's
I'm
so
not
funny.
going brewery hopping. That's what my dad did. So I think that makes the strongest case for it not being a fad, and that it turns out it can be good.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I
and
didn't know.
I think, the younger generation, I mean, kind of, I shouldn't say it because we are a brewery, but like good on them for drinking less.
Yeah.
I'm sure they looked at, they probably just looked at the 80s and 90s and went, whoa, that shit got way out of control.
Totally.
Like, whoa.
My nephew, my 8-year-old nephew, thinks it's weird that I drink at all. He's like, I just don't understand why you guys even do that.
Right.
Like
That's
none
awesome.
of his friends do nothing. I'm like,
All right.
Yeah.
it's weird. He's like, yeah, it's fucking weird. I'm like, wow, I didn't know.
Well, that's because he doesn't have kids.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I will say that is the wildest thing about having children but not drinking. I cannot fathom how anybody can have a hangover with little children.
I see. Yeah.
Dude, whoever can tolerate that is my hero.
It
Because
is.
It is hell on earth. I'll
Oh,
tell
dude.
you
Yeah, right.
right now.
Yeah.
I the worst mornings I will wake up and just be like, rub my eyes and be like, how would somebody do this hungover?
Right.
How?
Right.
You and I both have little kids though too, so it's
Yeah,
a very different
Deep
yes.
in it. Yeah.
Do we talk about what hops are in this IPA? Are we allowed to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is Mosaic,
And
Simcoe,
Simcoe.
and a skosh of Idaho 7.
Okay. And this is the headliner IPA, folks
Yeah.
at home,
Yep.
if you want to pick it up. Okay. Those are good hops right there.
Yeah, I think for me the best part is it retains the Mosaic, which a lot of the compounds from Mosaic do want to kind of blow off through the pasteurization process,
Okay.
and also don't even want to come into solution in the beer without the alcohol.
It's the first thing I get on the nose though.
Yeah, same.
It's immediately for me Mosaic, and then the Simcoe. I'm a huge
Yeah.
Simcoe fan too, so it's like this cool. I think it's very Fieldwork because it's kind of new school, old school mashup. And the Idaho 7's a nice little kind of second fiddle playing in the background, but that Mosaic is the first thing I smell.
Okay. It's good. I think it's going to be my new standard for alcohol IPAs at other breweries. If your West Coast IPA is not at least as good as Fieldworks NA, stop making it. Don't bother. That's my new litmus test.
Okay, should we do like a blind? No, that's kind of a dick move.
We
That would
should
be a
have
total dick
before.
move.
Yeah.
I will say, I think I've told this to Alex. Like, I hate session IPAs just in
Okay,
general
yeah.
as a category of beer.
Those can be wordy too.
Yeah,
But yeah, go on.
and we've made some, and I've had some that are good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I'm really proud of the fact that this drinks like an IPA, not like a hoppy lager or a session IPA. It's got actual body, it's got actual malt character, and the hop aroma and flavor is killer.
I love all this positivity about stuff we're doing, man. This feels good.
Yeah,
dude.
man.
Good job.
Yeah,
Good
man.
job.
Hell yeah.
The only thing I don't like is you've got me drinking my calories without
Yeah,
catching
sorry.
a buzz.
Okay,
Because
so
it's good.
right. Well, so again, though, going back to that, like, yeah, I used to only drink the hop water because I'm like, dude, adding calories,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I care. And then I did the math on like, because legally we did have to do the math on it. And
Oh, right.
I'm like, dude, a 12 ounce serving is what, like 65 calories or something?
These are significantly less than like a
Dude, I'll smash more
some of our other
calories
beers, yeah.
in ketchup
Yeah.
Okay,
with a meal
right.
than I would from that.
Good
And
point. Because most of the calories are in alcohol anyway, aren't they?
a
Like
good
there's
amount.
plenty in malt. But
Yes.
then now you're telling me what little amount of malt that you use too.
Yeah.
That, okay.
Yeah, so have 4. Don't worry about it, dude.
Hey, I'm
It's
good.
fine.
Yeah.
It really, you also, at the end of the day, it's like, this is the way I think the healthy way to look at it is if you had no problem drinking 3 or 4 beers a night,
Mm-hmm.
you should have zero qualms about drinking 2 NA beers.
Totally.
Because you're having an absolute fraction of the
Yes.
calories and
Okay.
carbs.
Yeah.
And
Good way to think about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
And we've talked a lot too about not drinking at all. I really like these for just breaking up if you're going to have 3 or 4 beers.
Just,
If you're gonna go to the
even
bar-
while you're drinking to
Yeah.
have these. Yeah.
that's, and that again is to me the wildest thing. Because when we went into this, I was under the impression you drink
black or
you
white.
don't
Yep.
drink.
Right.
I did not think there was any middle ground of
The
a
ish.
future for this. So
yeah.
I thought this is a great product for people like me who don't drink
Right.
or for people who can't drink. Right.
Yeah.
And we saw it instantly in the tasting room. People would order a beer, then they'd order an NA. Then they'd
Amazing.
order a beer, then
Yeah.
order an NA. And I'm sitting there going,
I wouldn't have thought that either.
yeah. And I'm sitting there going, damn, that is so smart. That is somebody who is not going to shit their pants tonight.
Yeah.
Like,
At least not from the
yeah.
beer.
Yeah,
Or maybe,
yeah.
maybe from the Taco Bell they get later.
Well, I was
but not
going to
from
say,
us.
they are
Right.
not going to pass out at Jack in the Box. Like,
Yeah.
good on them. That's rad.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
it's cool that people are using it as a tool for moderation,
Yeah.
which,
Yes.
it should be applauded. That's rad that people are doing that.
Agreed.
And, it's overall it's good for, I don't know.
Well, let's do this. Let's take another quick break. We're going to try some more. We've got some other NA products from Fieldwork as well. By the way, you can learn about all of this and where you can find yourself some Fieldwork. Go to fieldworkbrewing.com. You can learn about the locations. About soon to be 10 locations. Is that what I heard?
Soon to be 10 locations.
Where are the new 2?
Mars and Pluto.
Amazing. Yeah, I believe that.
Santa
actually.
Rosa. We have Santa Rosa,
Okay.
which was just announced.
Nice.
That should be done this year. And then we have a Roseville
Cool.
beer garden style tap room that's going to be opening up again, hopefully this year.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more from Fieldwork Brewing. Hang in there.
To realize the future America needs, we understand what's needed from us. To face each threat head on. We've earned our place in the fight for our nation's future. We are Marines. We were made for this.
Welcome back to the session. Thank you for hanging out with us. We're here with Fieldwork Brewing Company, talking about non-alcoholic beer. If you want to brew yourself some beer at home, I don't recommend doing non-alcoholic beer, but I do recommend getting the Beersmith homebrewing software. Go to beersmith.com. You can get a free web version trial and check it all out. It's the best brewing software out there. Go to beersmith.com. Brad does a great job with that piece of software, and it's what we all use. So check it out over at Beersmith, and thank them for being a sponsor for all of these years. Okay, so you guys are also producing what you call super tonics, right?
Yep.
What's a super tonic?
It's another just totally separate beverage, 0 alcohol. They're
Okay, yep.
sparkling flavored beverages. They're functional beverages.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a couple different here. We've got the...
I'm drinking the blood orange pomegranate and rosemary.
Nice. We've
Yeah.
got the cucumber, melon, and juniper as well.
That one looks good
So
too.
each of them, there's 4 different super tonic flavors, and each of them are kind of either mimicking or like based off of a cocktail, for instance, like the cucumber, melon, and juniper, or different flavor combinations that we think are going to be exciting and fun.
Yeah.
With the addition of different functional ingredients to either help you chill, there's GABA in some of these, like the cucumber, melon, juniper, different neurotropics and functionals that are already existing things in your brain that are going to help you chill or focus or something.
Is that what
elevate your brain without alcohol?
Is that what this one that says enhanced with adaptogens and
neurotropics?
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. What are these going to do to me?
It's going to make you feel like you're flying through this room. No, it's really just, all of them are really designed to just kind of help you mellow out, relax.
Nice.
Help you focus. And some of them, like the passion fruit and orange bitters that we do, we have what we call the social butterfly stack.
Yeah.
So it can kind of help alleviate anxiety while open up and be able to be social.
That's brilliant.
Without alcohol.
Yeah, I had suggested we just make them regular tonics and write "Don't be a cunt" on the front of the can.
Yeah.
And so that you drink them and be like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to be a piece of shit.
I feel nice.
But then they wanted to put these adaptogens and nootropics. So
yeah.
It sounds like it's going to turn you into an Avenger.
Exactly. Yeah. I
Only
feel
if
like
you
I'm going to be
drink
a
6 in a row.
superhero.
Yeah, you have to collect all the different flavors.
Well, here's
first.
what I do like about that you're doing that. So, one of the challenges that I've had with just being sober, doing lengths of time that are sober, is that I'm really sober. In other words, I don't smoke weed. And I'm fucking bummed that I don't. I used to smoke weed, and when I quit for a while and went back to it, it's no bueno. A lot of anxiety. It's no good. So when I'm sober, I'm sober. And what I've said was one of the difficulties with that is there is a thing about a beer or joint or whatever, it just kind of takes the edge off, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even if I wasn't getting hammered, if it's a stressful day at work and this is why people have a glass of wine at dinner. This is why it's not just because wine tastes good. It's because of the scientific fact that it takes the edge off.
Right.
I don't think that's the scientific terminology, but it's a fucking fact. So I love that you're adding something in here for me that's not just sugar, right? So like I had a couple mocktails at dinners out in this month because why not? Let's try out. they're fine, but it's a glass of sugar.
Yeah.
And nothing's kind of taking the edge off. So I'm here for it. If you're telling me that you've got some things in here that are kind of hoping to make me chill, I'm like, no, I like it.
And I know what you mean, because I don't smoke weed.
Yeah.
I'll eat the shit out of it, but
okay.
I won't smoke
all right,
it.
there we go. Yeah.
But it does. You kind of need it. I mean, at least for me, my thing
Once
is,
again, we both have small children. At home.
exactly. That's where I was getting at.
Yeah.
So, it sucks that I do not have the chemical makeup to be a good drinker. Like I can't drink one drink.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky though with weed.
Right.
It doesn't affect me like that. I'm good. And to be honest, it makes reading the same 4 fucking bedtime stories to my son so much more fun.
Right.
Oh my God. Brown Bear is so much easier to
You
tolerate
both get enjoyment
when you're mildly high.
Right.
And you mentioned the mocktail thing with these. I try to make sure that we're not really talking about them like mocktails because people see them like the cucumber, melon, juniper. I really like the fact that these are kind of everyday drinks, like especially since they have the neurotropic stuff. I'll get in my car, at 7:38 in the morning to go start my day, and I'll open one. And it's not something that I think is relegated, or at least the way that we talk about them.
Sure.
It's not something that we relegate as a drink replacement. It's not something that, even like the NA beers, I wouldn't get in my car at 7 in the morning and open an NA beer.
Yeah.
But these, it's just a whole separate category of drinks for us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's another way for us to offer something different,
right.
To have something that is an anytime beverage. You can use it to replace a cocktail at dinner, or you can have it in the morning.
Do we still make the lime and salt one or no?
Lime and salt is killer.
It's in my fridge.
Dude, I remember the first time I tried that one, it gave me an almost panic attack because it tasted exactly like Revolucion in TJ at like 18 years old. I was like, oh my God, this is like straight up.
Yeah, now it has rhodiola in it.
It's a margarita.
So they all have like these herbs and different neurotropics and things to kind of, help you through your day.
I'm bringing them home.
Or to become an Avenger.
I think this one's delicious. I like the cucumber melon.
That's my favorite.
That's the one that turns you into a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah,
perfect.
That's right.
That's what I need in my life.
Yeah, you have 2 hours.
and only 15 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
Which is not a lot.
Not bad.
Yeah. 3% of my daily value. That's nothing.
Yeah. You can have 10 of them.
Yeah, this is and I might. That's the other thing I did notice. Even when I'm not drinking, I fucking drink a lot.
Yeah,
right.
Like I noticed, half of it is just the habit of my arm bringing a glass of liquid to my mouth. Like I'm doing a gallon of water a day without even trying. Right. It just happens. And I was like, God, maybe it turns out I'm not as much of an alcoholic as I thought. I'm just real thirsty.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
I'm just constantly thirsty.
That's what it is. Yeah. It's really nice. Like, again, it's the same idea for us as the NA. It's just like we want to be able to offer a lot of different things.
I like it.
We can put together cool flavor compounds, and like I think we can make really cool, delicious drinks.
Yeah.
And now it opens up an entirely new kind of world of customers for us too. Like, I'm going to sandwich shops and tasting folks on stuff like this where, we've never been able to have a customer that's only open for breakfast and lunch, for instance.
Yeah.
Like it's just a whole new world of customers, and we're able to offer something that's new and different. And I'll be honest, I've worked with Fieldwork. I've been there for 10 years, and I've been in the beer industry for 15 and restaurant and stuff before that. It's really nice. We talked about drinking a lot earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It's really nice to just have different products
on
hand to like taste and like just break up the day.
Yeah.
Just to have different things in the bag to pull.
Absolutely.
Do you guys remember when everyone was diversifying by making booze?
Totally, yeah.
That's the solution.
That was a horrible idea.
Yeah, so we've
every brewery was
swung
like,
the other way.
You know what we need to do? Get even stronger shit. It's
totally.
I'm liking where
That's
the
funny.
pendulum's at now.
Right.
Yes. It's a lot more safe.
That's great.
And for longevity, we were talking about that. Not only for us as drinkers, but
Right.
I think all of this stuff that we have, is really important and part of how we're going to be around for a long time and make sure that we have customers and people that are enjoying what we do, people come into the tap rooms and they get lunch and they get a super tonic and they leave.
That's
and
great.
I can't believe it, but it's great.
I thought you were saying we'll be around for a long time, like physically, so we don't die.
That as well.
That's where my brain was at. I was
Totally.
like,
Well,
bro,
that's
we're
part
not-
of it
we
too.
shouldn't be dead that soon. Like,
But hey, the way some of us were going.
I know.
So that's my point.
I always think back. I'm like, God, my doctors were like, yo, your liver is shit. And I'm like, I don't know why.
It's so weird.
Well, yeah. Why would that happen?
Oh, yeah.
Do you drink a lot? No. And
I
then
don't
you
know.
quit drinking. They're like, wow, your panels are great. I'm like, yeah, I don't. It's wild, man.
It's just something changed.
Yeah.
It's mountain air.
Oh, my bilirubin's good. Fucking awesome.
I don't know
what that
if you
is,
remember
but-
this, but the show, 10 years ago, we had a death pool at the Brewing Network. It was fun for us to rate each other. I was always at the top of the death pool.
Right.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Tasty, rest his soul, beat me to
Rest
it.
in peace, Tasty.
But yeah, that's how bad things were around here, that we would
Oh
do a
my
death
God.
pool. Yeah.
Dude, that's amazing.
We did a show, you can probably look it up, where we brought in a nurse, an actual doctor and a nurse.
I remember this.
We had to fill out a questionnaire ahead of time, and then they came in on the show live and put us in order. And I was number one. I was most likely to die any day.
We were in such a we were so spoiled for so long with not only especially around here, man, some of the best breweries in the world.
Yes, yeah.
We are so lucky, and then to have this incredible just support and growth
Yeah.
for a extended period of time.
Yeah.
It was the world as a drinker was your oyster.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy about all of this, and I think that I think it's helpful, and I'm so glad, Alex, that somebody finally proved me wrong about NA beer. I've been waiting so long. So,
It can be good.
Yes.
Even great.
Even great.
Amen.
I'm bringing some home tonight, as a matter of fact. All right. Fieldworkbrewing.com. You can go get all the information. They've got 8 open locations around the Bay right now, and 2 more coming.
2 more coming.
Which is exciting.
Yes.
Collaboration beer with Faction coming out this week, sounds like.
That's
So,
coming
yeah.
out in 2 days. It's
Nice.
going to be killer. It's I don't know what you'd call it, a hoppy West Coast lager.
Nice.
I mean, Roger's the fucking
Yeah.
king of
Yeah.
all that. So
yeah, he's great.
stoked on that. We're brewing a collab. Tomorrow, the whole team's going out to, can somebody tell me how to pronounce it? Swisson? Swisson.
Oh, over
Wait,
here.
To True Symmetry, yeah.
True Symmetry, yeah.
True Symmetry.
Yeah, Jason over there.
Yep. So
Yeah.
the whole crew's going over there to brew
Nice.
tomorrow.
Oh, that's cool.
And
Yeah.
I don't know what else we got going on.
Just come by the tap room and get some beer.
There you go.
We've got 8, so no matter
You'll
where
find
you're
one.
at, if you're in Northern California, you can find one.
Or come to the Hop Grenade. We've always got it here
You
too.
beat me
so,
to it.
yeah,
You beat
yeah.
me to it. Come over to the Hop Grenade and crush some non-alc cans. Or, I don't know, we got a couple on tap here too.
There we go. All right. So no non-alcoholic beer on tap for us, which I'm happy about now that I've learned all about that from you guys. But we do have the cans here, and I don't know if we have your. I'm already forgetting the name of these super tonics yet, but I think we should get them. I was toying with us creating our own mocktails, but now I think I just need an ice machine and a glass and yours.
Yeah.
That'll do just fine.
We've done a couple fun events where we did a wet versus dry, use them as mixers.
Oh, nice.
With alcohol
Yeah. Smart.
versus doing just on their own. It's great.
Yeah, I like it.
Yep. They're ready to go.
Excellent. All right, folks. That's our show for today. Don't forget to check out all of our sponsors, including More Beer. Go to morebeer.com and thank them for being our sponsor for all of these years, for 20 years. And we're going to stay at it. We'll keep doing it. Get your tickets to Spring Brews Festival. It's March 29th. Just go to thebrewingnetwork.com. Tickets are on sale now. $65 for 60-plus breweries. All you can taste. Plus, there's food and live music, and it's a great event. And hopefully it won't rain on us like it did this year. All right, folks. Thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time. Take care of yourselves and your beer.